Well, good morning, everybody. Let me get my notes up here. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 26th. Is it the 26th day? Let me look. Yep, 26th day of March, 2020. Well, we've made it through another 4-day Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune week. And I don't know. It looks like the Congress is acting, and an aid package is going to be available here soon, which I'm sure is going to be good news to a lot of folks that aren't ready for this. And I'm not really sure who unless you're really wealthy, I'm not sure who is ready. Um, I have been so shocked in the last few days, and I even wrote a thing on Patreon. So now he's coming after the olds. That's what I called it. Um, we've always known, if you're on the liberal side of things, or the progressive side of things, whether you're a Democrat or you're an independent. I regard independents as a little more progressive than Republicans, but I suppose maybe that's not always the case. They just think independently of a party, maybe, I don't know. But I just think that it's always been clear that there's been a divide between how one party views the vast population in this country and how the other does. And I've always been out, even though I was no party affiliation until 2008, when I finally became a Democrat. I did that because Barack Obama was running. Our whole family voted for him, and that was a very cool experience because it was the first time my kids voted in a presidential election. So it was special, and I felt like, well, we've always, voted along Democratic lines. It's time to just choose a side. I don't know that I regret that, but I guess I always felt that being no party affiliation was my way of saying, look, I'm not going to be beholden to one particular school of thought. But after what's gone on over the last 3 years, I have to say that I now no longer regret any changing to a Democrat. I don't regret it at all. What I've witnessed throughout all this time has been so horrible. It's been so troubling to watch the grift on this country. It was never about, and I think the things that we're hearing Lindsey Graham talk about being worried about a nurse getting more, and then he tried to say, oh no, it's about nurses' aides. Well, they don't even call nurses' aides anymore. You know. That they're going to make more on unemployment on this relief package than if they just worked. Well, if they work, they're going to die. Maybe they catch this and they don't survive it. Yeah, this is what we're talking about here. This is the example of the divide. Either we're going to understand, we can sit and fight against the notion that the United States is a socialist country. As long as we have a social safety net, socialism is part of our structure. Okay, our fundamental basic structure of the country. Yes, there's capitalism. Yes, we can make whatever we want. But there has to be a certain amount that goes back into the kitty for the roads, for the schools, for the libraries, for, whatever, right? For social, we pay into Social Security. It's not an entitlement. We pay in. It's ours. We made this agreement that this is what we were going to do, that we were going to have, and it just seems like they chip away and find more and more and more reason to not give it to us. Well, now there's been an aid package done by the Senate. Looks like Nancy's signaling that, she had a hand in it. So looks like she's going to go ahead and she said they're going to pass it. I don't know how much tweaking there's going to be. Maybe there won't be any. Maybe there will be a little. So maybe it'll have to go back, but maybe not, and maybe it'll go directly to him, and and he'll sign it. But when he's wanting states to be nice to him in order to get anything, that's the same as saying to Ukraine, but I'd like you to do us a favor, though. He can't even stop that nonsense, that criminal behavior when the country needs him to be normal. He can't be. So you see the very stark extremes here of what it looks like when a party cares about the people and when another party doesn't. And to hear the lieutenant governor and to hear the Federalist, who is it, Meghan McCain's husband, who runs that, talk about the olds taking it for the team, basically, being willing to sacrifice for the Tao. Are you kidding me? Okay, here we are. This is truth. Okay, they're just saying it out loud now. That's all they're doing. So I'm glad that we have a deal. I'm glad that this is going to move somewhere and some relief is going to get into the hands of some people. I don't know who all that's going to be. I don't know if anyone is going to be made whole or if it's even possible. Or if we should, or if we can just expect to put things off until this is over and we can all get back to normal, or find some way to get back to normal. Because Dr. Fauci says this may cycle. And so if that's the case, we may not, this may be happening throughout the year instead of in the spring and in the fall kind of thing. We may have a more cyclical type of thing until we get this under control. And we may have to practice the social distancing and wearing masks for far longer than we realize, and gloves and everything. And if that's what we need to do to get through this, then just do it. Don't pretend it's a hoax. Don't listen to the idiot in the White House. He doesn't have your best interests at heart. He only wants to make sure his resorts do well and the money's coming in. That's all he wants. He doesn't care about us. Never has. So, if we need to pay attention. I'm spending time talking about this because basically that's what the astrology is saying. We need to, we've got the moon in the 12th house of Taurus. We should focus on routine. Square Saturn as well. This is a difficult time if we focus on routine, just getting through the day, right? Taking care of our immediate needs, the ones that actually have to be taken care of, not the ones we'd like to be taken care of. Like when I run out of shredded cheese, I'm not going to run right down to the store and get some. I'm going to wait till my designated times I've established to when I'm going to go out and get the few things I'm going to buy at a grocery store. The rest I'm going to order. Spray down the boxes when you get them. Let them sit outside. Wear gloves. Wear a mask. Open everything up. Spray everything inside. I don't know. You've got to take the precautions. So we've got to think strategically. Embrace everything that heals. Sun conjunct Chiron. It's in the 12th house in Aries. But conjunct Chiron, we're going to embrace anything that heals right now. So as we're going along with our routine, embrace what heals. Meditation, laughter. Someone said on Twitter yesterday that I'm not watching anything, but I'm binge watching anything that's funny. On Netflix, whatever, reruns, whatever, anything that's funny. They're not looking at anything that's sad or anything that they might briefly look at what the numbers are. They might briefly look and see if anything has changed today that we need to know about. After that, they shut it all down and they don't pay any attention to it. Things are changing right now, and it's reflecting in the astrology as well. Again, Mercury is still suggesting semi-square Jupiter. We may need to adopt other ways to exist right now, to learn, to expand our horizons. Let's see. Venus trine Jupiter, control your urge for freedom by channeling it into expansive thought, or maybe a nice walk in the backyard, or a virtual walk online if you can't do that. If you don't have a backyard that you can go out into. Or if you don't have a deck you can go out onto and you don't have plants out there or something, go take a virtual tour. There's a lot of them right now you can go and you can look at different botanical gardens online. They have virtual tours. You can do that. Whatever to take your mind away from the fear that is, threaded throughout everything right now, the uncertainty. Try to find some certainty there, even if it's just looking at something online that makes you feel better. That's really all we need to do right now, is to try to feel better in any way that we can. Jupiter conjunct Pluto, we have the resolve to accomplish anything still. So we can get through this. It's not going to be easy, but it looks like aid is coming, so we can focus on that. Until then, we need to help one another. Let's see, again, Uranus, semi-square Neptune, guard against deception and the long-played con. sort of, in keeping with what I opened with. We're, we can no longer ignore the truth of things. And the truth of what's been going on over these last years is that we've been left completely unprotected while this guy and his cronies made a killing. And the only reason that I think the Republicans are doing it, apart from greed, is they're stacking the courts. So it's not going to matter who's in the White House or who's in the Congress, as long as they've got the courts in their back pockets. But trust me, that's not going to last. I know they think it will, but these people are extraordinarily short-sighted. I know they think they're planning for the future because they know they're going to be kicked to the curb here. They know that in the immediate sense, but see, as they figure as long as they can keep everything solid in their estimation, then it's fine. They can weather all of that. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. They think that's what they're doing. And it might be true for a little while going forward, but it's not going to be because you see the virus came in and disrupted things. We're in a 22 year. This is a year of disruption and rebalancing. That's what a 22 is. It's a cosmic builder, maybe the cosmic rebuilder. But we have to pay attention. We have to see the truth in front of us now. So let's see, Chiron, 12th house Aries again today. The space may be open to heal others now. I see everybody, I mean everyone online, on Twitter, checking in with people, just checking in generally, putting up little, let's show pictures of our animals doing something fun. Everyone is trying so hard to stay connected with people and to make each other's day a little bit brighter, while still giving us the information we need to have. And so let's just stay on that path today and for the foreseeable future, and maybe for the rest of our lives, in enhancing our each other's lives instead of causing issues in them. Those that are doing that right now, well, you'll receive your comeuppance. Those of you compromising people's safety in the grocery stores by licking things, you're idiots. You're just idiots. You're likely going to go to jail for it when people find you too. Some are calling that terroristic activity, and when you think about it, it's like back when AIDS got going, HIV got going, and you had some that were going to go, some people that were HIV positive that were going to go out and infect all kinds of people because they were angry, right? That's what people are doing now. They're going out and they're trying to infect people. Well, if that person dies, how is that not attempted murder? So think about what you're doing here. Think about the impact. You're not only going to hurt other people, but you could be giving yourself an extraordinary amount of jail time. So don't be an idiot. Be the solution, not the transmission point. Don't be the nation's typhoid Mary. That's just stupid. Yeah, well, I'm feeling my crownness today, so. Yeah, that whole, mom or grandma and grandpa have to sacrifice themselves for the Dow business. That really hit me wrong, I guess. Or maybe it hit me right. Maybe that's what it did. But good Lord, people. They're just saying it out loud now, what they say in private. I'm telling you, what you see here, oh, we don't want nurses to make, they're going to make $24 an hour on this aid package. I guess what he meant to say was nursing assistants who don't make $24 an hour normally. At least I don't think they do. They never used to. But because they don't have the same skill level as nurses do. And nurses, on the other hand, make far more than that mostly, and rightly so. And so I don't discredit nurses at all. I don't discredit any first responder. They can make whatever they want to make. It's fine with me. They're there when we need them, and they risk their lives to do it. So God love them. God love them all. I live next to a nurse, and I pray for her that she's going to be okay through this. She's either gosh, she's either my age or she's a year older than me. So, she's got issues too. So I don't know, you know, her husband just fought cancer. So I don't know. Uh, she's sacrificing her life for us. Why wouldn't we want to protect her? And why wouldn't we want to protect anyone else who's a first responder? But Lindsey Graham doesn't care about that. He just doesn't want anybody to make more on unemployment and use that as an incentive. Well, you know what? That's not how unemployment works. When your job calls you back when you're on a layoff, you go. You don't get the unemployment anymore. He doesn't even know. He's a senator. He doesn't even know how unemployment works. Instead, he just wants to be awful and hurtful. But please understand, that's who they are. Maya Angelou said it, when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. Don't sit and say, oh, no, that's not true. He didn't mean that. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Just like the lieutenant governor from Texas, Dan Patrick. Remember that name, Dan Patrick. Yeah. Grandma and grandpa are supposed to sacrifice for the Dow. Go ahead and die. Yeah, so that we can all get back to work. Businesses, corporations will survive. They don't care about the mom and pops. Okay, just understand that. They don't care about that. But the corporations will survive. They don't need the government. The mom and pops, however, do. So hopefully there's enough in the aid package. I'm sure that, Nancy's going to make sure of it, but I hope there's enough in the aid package for the small businesses so that they can stay afloat and that they'll be there and so they can call their people off of unemployment, Lindsay. Let's go ahead and get started on the reading. If you haven't been here before, yeah, I do the astrology, and right now I'm doing a little ranting because I'm really upset. Okay, I'm just upset. And I cannot believe that they couldn't get it together and be decent human beings during this time. I just don't understand that. So anyway, when they start talking about killing me off, that upsets me. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't upset other people, but I think it does. I see it online. They're irritated. And it's like, oh, come on. Are you kidding? Do you have to be you right now? Could you try to be human? That's basically the attitude. It's like, we don't need people like you right now. So just knock it off, right? That's how people feel. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take the first 3 cards. If you haven't been here before, welcome. And I'm going to do them randomly. I'll take the 13th card each time. I don't normally do that in readings, but I do it randomly here. Then I'll do a rune from the Elder Futhark bag, and then we'll close out by creating a geomancy rune to finish. Little earth divination, just to sort of see what the grounding influences are, what the underlying thing we're dealing with is today. It's usually what ends up happening with that one. So in any event, let's go ahead and take our first 3 cards. If we need more, we'll take them, but otherwise we'll just stop with 3. Well, I'm dropping one. Let's see, what was it? Oh, it's the Knight of Swords, so remember that. Anytime you drop a card, it might be your card. You just don't know. It could be opening up everything in the whole reading. So anyway, just remember was it Knight of Swords? Yeah, Knight of Swords. Well, we have the 9 of Wands, uneasy truce. Probably indicative of what's going on in Congress right now. Or maybe an uneasy truce with your kids if they're driving you nuts at home right now. People are getting creative. They're videoing everything. One family videoed the Pirates of the Caribbean, and they had 2 kids pretending to go through, they're on this thing and they're going through the house, they've got little different areas set up, and it shows, that if you've ever been to Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland, I have a couple of times, and it's really cool. So since Disneyland, I don't think is open right now, it's really not, they decided to do it at home, and they videoed it. It was hilarious. And it was really cool. I mean, they had the different scenes from it set up throughout the house and different players in the house, because the whole family was there, and obviously because they're all hunkered down, and they have several people, more than 4 people in the family, it looked like. And so you had different people taking different roles and doing different things. And it was as the two kids went through the whole thing, right? And it was very cool. They even had them tobogganing down the stairs. That was fun. Nobody got hurt, but it was pretty cool. So people are being really creative right now, and it's really interesting. There we go. Now it's working right. Sometimes my hands don't work in the morning. We have the Six of Wands moving forward in shared purpose. I love the sixes in the tarot. I mean, we're talking shared abundance, shared purpose, shared direction. I just think, when you get into the sixes, we talked about this the other day, when you're looking at the even numbers, the 2, 4, 6, 8, and then return to wholeness with 10, but see that reduces to 1. So, but you can look at it that way. But 2, we're coming together, right? An inner type of a balance, or maybe coming together with one other person. With the 4, we're looking at a foundational type of interaction or integration with others. It's very foundational, can also be thought of as respite, a number for respite or a number for endings, but it's establishing something. Then the 6 now, that's very earthbound, okay, the 2 and the 4. But when you get into the 6, that's when higher self-awareness really kicks in, because we start to become aware of the other people in our lives and that they matter too in the broader scheme of things, that it isn't just simply about me or one other person, it's about this whole collective. So you start to understand the concept of the family and the community when you get to the 6. And so I love that. You with the 8, you're looking at something that involves more leadership or more the collective consciousness aspect of all of it. So you see this progression, in a sense, in awareness from ego, something that might be more ego-based with the 2, although it doesn't have to be. It can always be spirit informed. But you see that progression with the 2 and then the 4 and then the 6 and then the 8 in awareness, I would think, to more of the collective of who we are as the collective consciousness, and that everyone matters and everyone factors in and everyone is important and needs to survive all of it, right? So that's the how I see the progression there in terms of numerology with that. Well, we have the 7 of Cups. So we might need a 4th card because of the 7 of Cups. Let me look at this real quick, though. Let's see. We have a 9. We have a 6. You know what? I'm going to start with the 7. I'm going to start with the 7. A lot of the time with the 7 of Cups, we see this as being unrealistic. Our head in the clouds, are not really paying attention to what's possible. But I don't see it that way. I will, if the other cards are suggesting it, then I'll read it that way. But I don't like to do that. I just think that that's terribly short-sighted, and I don't believe it. You see all the different cups, you see the darker clouds, it's illusion and all of that. You could think of it, though, as the unknown. You can think of it as possibilities for the future, dreaming new dreams. How do we ever progress? How do we ever discover new things if we don't do this? You see what I mean? So I'm fine with interpreting it in a way that doesn't make, that maybe we're thinking about things that are unrealistic, if the rest of the reading is that way. But I don't see it that way today. I think that what this is describing is the process that they're going through right now in Congress to create something for us. I really think that this is having to do with what we're dealing with right now. It would be nice to think about other things with tarot, but unfortunately, this is such a dramatic time that it's impossible for us to not look at the cards in relation to what's going on in the world. This whole experience, the last, 3.5 years has just been profound, and it's changed us in so many ways. But here, we could have unrealistic expectations and we need to bring them in balance. But I don't think so. I think it's time that I think the unrealistic expectations are found on the Republican side in Congress, and maybe the Republican side of politics. There's the unrealistic side of things. If we can afford an aid package like this in the trillions, then we can afford universal health care. We can have universal college. We can have all of these things. If the money is there for that, then the money is there for these other things. And so there's been an illusion that we've been expected to buy into for a very long time. And sometimes things like this, these big dramatic moments in life, they do more than confound. They reveal. And they reveal a structure that's not really sustainable. You can see that if we're going to argue over who gets aid, especially if you're not rich, or you're, you might say, well, means test the rich because they make their money another way, so they're going to always have something to live on. You want to do that there, that's fine, but the rest of us, no, do not means test anybody. And the fact that some were wanting to do that illustrates an attitude that is not conducive to going forward in the shared purpose found here and the shared direction found here. The idea is about shared purpose, sharing in the wealth, sharing it. And that's why having a social safety net that kicks in, where we eliminate the extremes of poverty and the extreme wealth, and cut it off, and you can only make, up to $1 billion, and then you got to give the rest back, right? So that people that don't have the ability to even successfully make ends meet without food stamps or whatever, why are we allowing that to happen? You see, why would we even, in other words, why would the country have to fear any of this? It's like, oh, a pandemic? Okay, what do we need to do to deal with this? So we're not gonna be able to go to work, so we're gonna have to stay home. So government's gonna have to send us some money so that we can function, so the stores can stay open, so that we can have the structure necessary, to do what we need to do, make sure everybody that's got to be out is protected. This is the kind of country we could have if we had the will to have it. If the rest of us could say to those that don't want that want to have it all for themselves, no, you can't do that. Well, that happens by voting, unfortunately, in this country. It's very difficult to assert yourself any other way. And then, of course, if the vote's hacked, then, I don't know. You have to pay attention to that. And when you have one party that will do nothing to stop that, when you have the guy in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, who won't allow any of those bills to protect our elections to go forward, are you kidding me? Pay attention to that. When Maya Angelou says, when people tell you who they are, believe them the first time. If Mitch McConnell doesn't want to keep the elections safe and protected, well, then he wants what happened before to happen. He wants to have unfettered power to hurt people. You see, that's what we're talking about here. And so we can continue to live here with our head in the clouds and not demanding what's really necessary in this country to actually make this country a great place. Because fundamentally it is. It's just there's a disparity between wealth and everyone else that is so massive that we have one party that wants to keep that division firmly in place to the disadvantage of everyone else. So to talk about Medicare for all or something like it, whatever, in other words, universal health care. It doesn't have to be Medicare for all. It could be something entirely different, where, it actually, or we rename Medicare for all and restructure it and, for families, basically, not just for seniors and people on Social Security disability. So I guess what I'm saying is that we have the ability right now to look past the illusion into something better. Now, if that's what's going on, if that's what you can term this aid package that could get signed here in the next couple of days, then what we've reached here is an easy truce, an uneasy truce rather. You can see that he's been battered and bruised. His staff is not fully upright like the others are behind him. Now, this could indicate support, but it could also indicate, the vultures in the back, because you see a line of demarcation between him and those wands, don't you, or those staffs. The suit of wands is the fire element, so we're talking our will here. So that's why I say maybe uneasy truce. He's not quite sure, is he? Like maybe this will work. But if it does, by virtue of shooting for the stars here and trying to say, no, the president is not going to make money off of this. He's not going to be able to, earn a buck like he does every time he goes golfing. Not allowed to do that, by the way, but yet he gets to. So you have to ask yourself again, why? Well, it's because they want something bigger than whatever this is. So they're willing to let him do whatever he wants, even though he can't, and not protect the election so they can continue to have all the power and control they want, right? Yeah, we can't have that. We might have an uneasy truce right now, but there's got to be some real change in this country. We can't go on this way. And I think that that's what the 9 is saying. It's a 9 is about endings and completion. So that's why I say that this could be really about that bill that needs to go through the aid package. It's not a stimulus. It's relief. And I'm sorry that the Republicans can't call it that. I mean, it's down to even the name of it, right? It's the CARES bill, right? They don't even like that. They don't want this to be about caring for others. They simply, I don't know what this is, because I can't think that way. I can't even fathom it. I can only take pieces from what they're doing and hearing what they say and empathically and intuitively letting it resonate and try to understand the bigger picture here about what's really in store here when we get a new president in the fall. But in the meantime, perhaps we can go forward in shared purpose so that people are protected. People can pay their bills, that the bills can maybe be, ignored for a couple of months, maybe, depending on what they are. But if they have the money, then they can pay their electric bill. If they have the money, they can pay their cell phone bill. They can pay their cable bill. We need these things. We need them right now. And if mortgages can be forgiven for a few months, great. Don't make them pay them back at the end. Just forgive it. In other words, extend the loan out. There was a time we had a VA loan on our home, and that's what we had a choice. We could extend it out because they changed it was a variable interest rate, and they changed it just a little bit. And rather than having a bigger payment, I went ahead and I extended it out. It was only going to extend it out about 6 months. And then from there, I just decided to overpay, and I ended up paying it off 2 months before the note was originally due. And so we paid off our home. It was just a 15-year mortgage. But I didn't want it to be 15 and a half, but I also didn't want to have my bill, I didn't want to, I also didn't want my bill to go up, but I wanted to control how much it went up. And so we went ahead and opted for the extended, and then we just did what we had to do to act. I said, let's try to pay this off sooner. And so we designated our extras to go toward the principal and not the interest, which you could do, and I don't know if you still can, but anyway, you could do that back then. And I was able to do that, and we got, our home paid off actually ahead of time. But it's having choices. It's having the ability to make something work for you. Having flexibility within that structure when a situation changes, and in that one, I mean, we knew it could change at any time. Being a variable interest rate, it can. But we were just able to make that work for us in a way that actually benefited us better, in the long run because we paid the house off sooner. I mean, just 2 months, but 2 months is 2 months, right? Save a little interest that way. So I don't know. I think that right now, Perthro is our rune for today. I think, is Perthro the 15th? What is 15th? It means the unknown. It's the 14th. All yeast is the 15th. And Perthro signifies the unknown or fate. Actually, it's the Norn's ability to control men's fate, but but that's another story. But it's one of those directional runes where it can go downward to form. It can open this way and indicate birth. This way it can indicate death. This way is a cauldron. So if you're doing a bind rune and you are using Perthro in it, you might have a cauldron effect with your bind rune that you wanna employ. So basically, that's Perthro is an interesting rune, though. It really does mean how we handle fate, basically. Are we going to succumb to it, or are we going to embrace it and try to figure out a way to move around it and make it work for us, or to control it? Because here's a notion to think about, and I talk about this when I talk about Perthro because I think it's important. We control our fate whether we understand it or not. We're presented with things, we can make choices within it. The fate that we control, though, is how we perceive it. We might not be able to control the circumstances in our lives, but how we perceive it, we can. Whether or not we remain in spirit and lofty and elevated in our resonance and in our frequency, or whether or not we succumb to it and succumb to fear and doubt and ego, and then everything lowers, doesn't it? If you've ever been around somebody who's very ego-minded, it's difficult to be around them. It might be entertaining in the beginning, but eventually it becomes too much. It's all about them, and that comes through. And you feel abandoned, and you feel it energetically. At least I do. You know that you could simply get up and go, and they wouldn't even know you're gone. They really wouldn't. Someone else could sit down, and they wouldn't even know the difference. They're so caught up in themselves. Well, we tend to think that that's a given, and when we do, we're succumbing to the ego and everything. It isn't a given. We don't have to succumb to any of that. We can control our fate by simply controlling our perception of it. Lots of people live very difficult lives, but their spirit is strong, and they're happy and they're fulfilled. They don't have a lot, but they don't need it because they're happy and fulfilled. It comes from within, and it's not dependent upon the without aspect of everything. It's not dependent upon what you own or what you have or what you possess, because you're true in spirit and you're strong in spirit, and you let spirit inform your perceptions. You let spirit inform everything. And I think that's, if we ever learn anything about this time, I think we need to learn that and become aware of that this is not something that we work our way back to awareness of spirit. We just simply have to turn our attention to it and remember that that's what we are. The body and the earth and the world and the universe would not exist if the Creator didn't focus us all into form. But as aspects of the Creator's thought, we then take over on behalf of Creator, and we learn and we grow and we perceive in a way that reflects spirit, hopefully. But instead, what usually happens is we come here, and instead of seeing everybody as the other side of self, we see everyone as the other. We forget that we are one. It's a fact. It's just a fact. If not for these bodies, if all we were spirit, we would rest together there. We would experience creation there together as one, in loving support of the whole experience. We just need to do that now. I think that this pause in our lives gives us a chance to think about that. So I hope you will. I'll see you on Monday. Check out the blog. The esoteric influences for the week will go up on Sunday, Saturday night or Sunday, whenever. Sometimes they go up on Saturday, but usually I try to get them up by Sunday. because it goes from Sunday to Saturday. So check those out if you want to. There'll be some stuff up. I'm doing a garden, an herb garden thing, or herb gardening post for Medium. It's not done yet, and when I redid my herb garden, I did it in the shape of a pentagram, and it's wild and woolly now, but I'm going to have to redefine it this year. But basically, I started that process actually last year, but I'm not finished, and I need to move some things around and everything. But so I thought I would just share that and show people how to, if you don't want to do it in the form of a pentagram, you can at least do it in the form of a medicine wheel or medicine directions. That's like a medicine wheel. My medicine wheel is an 8-spoked one, but typically there are four sections, and one it goes to earth, one goes to water, one goes to fire, one goes to air. And so you plant the plants that are designated that or correspond to those directions in an elemental herb garden. And so that's what I'm doing. And so if you want to check that out, it should go up sometime this weekend. I don't know when, or it might go up today. It might go up tomorrow. I'm not sure. So just watch for that over there. It just search Jan Erickson over on Medium, and you'll find my stuff that I write over there. Patreon, I write over there. So if you want to check that out, that's a paid site. Some stuff I post to the public though, so you can at least go there and see that stuff. If you want to sign up and support me over there, you can do that, and then you can see everything. But I start all the foundations and magic stuff over there. Eventually, I release it to the public over on YouTube. But it all starts out over there. I'm going to be planning some more of that to put up as well. But you can go check that out, and or just go check out the blog over at imsteppingaside.com, and I'll be checking in on Instagram throughout the weekend. I'm going to start doing that every day. So check out the Stepping Aside's Instagram thing. There's a link to it under the video here. And everywhere else I am. Follow me, and I'll follow back, and we'll stay connected. Not just during this time, but going forward. And click subscribe here. I'd love you to come back. Come back on Monday and share this time with us. So in any event, take care of yourselves this weekend. Stay safe. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another. And blessed be.